Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Temple Akiba and our Shabbat services this evening. I'm Cantor Lonnie Freilich. I know all of you already know that. It's so good to see all of your faces this evening, and hello to everyone in Zoom land. We're so happy that you're here with us as well. So as our days get shorter and the nights get longer, I find myself craving extra light. When the sun starts to go down around this time of year, 4:30 or 5 o'clock, I feel like it's already time for bed. Do any of you feel like that you just want to curl up and go to sleep? It's time. You know, the darkness at such an early time makes me feel sleepy. But coming home to my house filled with light refreshes my body, and I'm ready to stay awake and enjoy time with my family. We are all in need of light these days, extra light, physical light and spiritual light. And tonight's service celebrates light. Many of the songs and the prayers that we will be singing this evening have the theme of light. And even the sermon will reflect the theme of light. Light is such a powerful spiritual metaphor in our religion. And I wanted to begin the service by sharing a beautiful commentary from the conservative prayer book, Eitz Chaim, regarding the significance of light. Why has light been such a favorite symbol of God? Perhaps because light itself cannot be seen. We become aware of its presence when it enables us to see other things. Similarly, when we cannot see God, but we become aware of God's presence when we see the beauty of the world, when we experience love and the goodness of our fellow human beings. And when we look at the light of our Shabbat candles or the light emanating from our Chanukiah as we just celebrated during Hanukkah, we are reminded of God's presence in our lives. So I wanted to begin with the singing of Bring in the Light. It is not in our prayer books, but I know many of you know this, and I, of course, always invite all of you to join and sing along with us. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. May you have a peaceful day. Shabbat Shalom. May you have a restful day. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. As we watch the candles shine, Shabbat Shalom. Cover the challah, pour the wine. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the lights of Shabbat. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. together. Shabbat Shalom, a special day for us to rest. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light of Shabbat. We light the light of Shabbat. Lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. We continue to bring light into our world and our synagogue, and we invite Judy Friedman to the bima to light our Shabbat candles for us. And we also invite Randy Murphy, who will lead us in our Kiddush. We're on page 2 in our prayer books. Page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And we ask for all who are able to please rise for our Kiddush on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu l'shabbat kodsho ve'ahavav rotzon inhilanu zikaron lama'aseh b'reshit ki hu yom tehilah lamikra'e kodesh zekerit yad Mitzrayim ki banu v'chata ve'otanu kidashton michol ha'amim b'shabbat kodshcha ve'ahavu v'ratzon inchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
Please be seated. We're going to turn in our prayer books to page 20 for the singing of Lachadodi, one of our mystical prayers. Our sages would go out into the field, the mystics would go out into the field and dance in order to welcome Shabbat, because they saw Shabbat being as sort of a representative of a Sabbath bride. And so we follow the same order that they did, and on our last verse on our Boi Chala, we ask for you all to rise and face the entrance as if we are all welcoming in the Sabbath bride. That's right. Yeah, it's it's major. Lecha dodi likra kala hanei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi lecha dodi likra kala hanei Shabbat nekabela Shamo v'zachor b'dibor achad ishmianu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemu tiferet v'litila lecha dodi likra kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila lecha dodi likra kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 5. Hitoreri, kiva orach, kumi ori, uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai, alak migla, lecha dodi, likra kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. We rise and we face the entrance. Poish b'shalom, ateret bala, kam b'simcha, uvetzola, tochemune, am segula, poichala, lecha dodi, likra kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi, likra kala, p'nei Shabbat nekabela. And having welcomed in the Sabbath bride, let's take a moment to welcome each other. So take a second and just say Shabbat Shalom to those that are in the room. For everyone on Zoom, take a moment to say Shabbat Shalom in the chat room to each other as well. So I know we could all go on schmoozing for a long time, and we will have time for that at our Oneg to go after the service. But we want to move on with our service, and we invite Carol Seidman up to the bima. Everyone, please have a seat. And Carol will be leading us in our Chatzi Kaddish.
I need to put
Should be working.
okay.
We're on page 26.
You caught me unawares here. Okay. Okay, sing with me.
I will.
Sing with me. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabba b'yamad divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Bagala, bagala, uvisman kariv, vimeru, amen. Yeheshme rabba mevarach, le'alma mal me'amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit haleh, v'yit halal, shemei d'kudashah, brifu, le'ela min kol v'chata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'alma, v'imaru, amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you, my honor.
We continue our service with our formal call to worship, the Baraku. We ask for all who are able to please once again rise. And we are on page 28. Ya la 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 ya 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 la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baraku et Adonai HaMevorach Baraku et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed Ya la 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 ya 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 la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. We remain standing for one of our most important prayers, the Shema, which we can find on page 34 and 35. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Please be seated, except for Sarah Fields, who will be leading us in our Vayahafta. Sarah and my mother-in-law recently became adult B'nai Mitzvah, and I know many of you were at that service. And we are so proud of the work that they did and how incredible of a day that was. And I wanted to invite her back up to chant the prayer that she did so beautifully at her adult B'nai Mitzvah. We're on page 36.
And you're going to help me, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Ve'ahavta
et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'lechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sarah. Part of our next prayer can be found on page 40. We're going to be singing the Micha Mocha, and we're going to couple it with a song called Walking in the Light. And this is a version by Saul K., Noah Aronson, Todd Herzog, and Alana Jagoda. And I wanted to read the introduction that Saul K. writes about this song. This song represents a unification of many parts of my life. I was born in South Africa, and growing up, I listened to the bands Ladysmith Black Mambazo and Julika. So the sounds of Zulu always bring me back to my childhood. Blending the Zulu with our tefillah, our song of praise, sung after our holy walk through the Sea of Reeds, ties together my life journey. Out of Africa, through the world of music and rhythm in the diaspora, and finally back to Judaism. For me, walking in the light of God means being fully present for another, fully inhabiting joy, laughter, song. As a musical shaliach tzibor and performer, my job is to get out of the way, to let go of my own story for long enough to have the congregation or audience have a spiritual experience. And when I am doing that, we are walking in the light of God together. So the first portion, walking in the light of God, is not in your prayer books, but the Mi Chamocha will be the second portion, and that can be found at the top of page 40. And please join us. We are walking in the light of God. 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 We are walking. We are walking. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking. We are walking. We are walking in the light of God. Mi chamocha, mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. No ra tehillah. Walking in the light of God. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking. We are walking. We are walking in the light of God. We are walking. We are walking. We are walking in the light of God. When I hear all of you singing and harmonizing, I truly feel like we are walking in the light of God. Thank you for that contribution. That was beautiful. We continue our service with our central section, our avot, our standing prayer. I'm going to invite Herman Barnathan to lead us. And thank you to everyone who has participated so far in our service. It is such a pleasure to have such a knowledgeable congregation who loves to sing, who loves to help participate and lead. It is such a pleasure to not just lead for you, but truly be leading with you. And we ask for all who are able to rise. We begin the Amidah section on page 46.
Adonai tzefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu, Elohei Avraham ve'Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Havara, El Elyon, Gomer chasadim tovim, vekoneh hakol, vezocher chatzei lahavot, vehimahot, umevi gehula lifnei bneihem, leman shemo be'ahava. Melech Ozeh u'Moshiach u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, ve'etzrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah rav lehoshia. Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofei holim, Umatir hasurim, Umechaye memnunato, Lishenei afar. Mi chamocha bael givurot, Umido melach, Melech memid umechaye, Umatziach Yeshua, V'nehemahata l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'simcha kadosh, Ukadoshim b'kol yom yehalu lak selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Thank you for a minute. We take the next few moments for silent reflection, and you can either use the pages in front of you or the prayers in your heart. When you're finished, feel free to have a seat. Our next song is Yom Zeh LeYisrael. This is Israel's day of light and of joy, a Shabbat of rest. Yom Zeh LeYisrael ora besimcha, Shabbat menucha. Yom Zeh LeYisrael ora besimcha, Shabbat menucha. Yalalai, 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 yalalai. Yom Zeh LeYisrael ora besimcha, Shabbat menucha. Yom Zeh LeYisrael ora besimcha, Shabbat menucha. we think of those at this time that are in need of healing. And we hope that our prayers can bring light to their lives and give them a sense of peace, a sense of comfort, and a sense that they know that we are thinking about them, that we are sending our love to them. So we turn to page 253, and we find the Mishaberach in the middle of the page, our prayer for healing, and we send our thoughts, our healing thoughts, to all of those who are in need. We'll sing the first verse, and then I will ask for names in the middle of our verses. And for those of you on Zoom, please put the names of the people in your life that are in need of healing in the chat box.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
So if the rabbi were here, what would he say tonight? This is my favorite Torah portion. But guess what? I'm not talking about this week's Torah portion. So I was debating if I should talk about this week's Torah portion, which is what we normally would do. But because I wanted to stay with our theme of light for this evening's service, I'm going all the way back to the very beginning of our Torah. And we're touching for a second on the portion Bereshit, but we're using that as a jumping point to speak about this evening's theme of light. There is a curious anomaly, or not fitting together of ideas in the opening chapter of the book of Genesis. So what did God create on the first day? What did God create on the first day? Heaven and earth. God created light. God created light. Now, not as many people know the sequence of creation following the first day, specifically the creation of the sun, the moon, the stars, and heavenly luminaries. So it was on day 4, and that is the anomaly. So what's the problem here? How can God make light on day 1, but not make any of the sources of light until day 4? The answer given by our tradition is that the light created on day 1 when God said, "Let there be light," was an optical light. The reason it was not optical light was there was no source for the light created. The light that God made on day one was the light of consciousness or awareness. Even to this day, when we want to depict a cartoon character getting a bright idea, we draw a light bulb over their head. What God made when God began creation was awareness. The Midrash and after it the Zohar say that the light that God created on day one was so bright that in it Adam and Eve were able to gaze from one end of creation to the other. So that means that Adam and Eve can see you and I right now. So let's go ahead and say, "Hello, Adam and Eve." So at one point in creation, the rabbis tell us that they were able to see us and know everything. But then God had a problem because God realized that Adam was unable to follow one simple mitzvah: don't eat the fruit. And God realized that God would take the ultimate awareness in which Adam lived and would destroy creation. On the other hand, if God simply took away the possibility of ultimate awareness, creation couldn't exist either. So the Midrash and then the Zohar say that God solved the problem by leaving the light in the world, but by hiding it in gross matter. God hid the light in the rocks, the mountains, the streams, and in people. Like Yoda in Star Wars says, "Beings of pure light we are." I wish I could say it in a Yoda voice, but I'm not really good at that. And the Psalms say, "Or Zarua Lat Sadik," which is the song that we're going to be ending with tonight. Light is hidden away for the righteous ones. And when you act like a good person, then a little bit of that ancient hidden light of consciousness and awareness makes its way back into the universe. The great 16th century Rabbi Isaac Luria of Safed also speaks about the containment of God's light in his cosmological midrash. At the beginning of time, God's presence filled the universe. When God decided to bring this world into being, to make room for creation, God first drew in breath, contracting God's self, a process known as Tzimtzum, and from that contraction, darkness was created. And when God said, "Let there be light," the light that came into being filled the darkness, and 10 holy vessels came forth, each filled with primordial light. In this way, God sent forth those 10 vessels, each carrying its cargo of light. And had they all arrived intact, the world would have been perfect. But the vessels were too fragile to contain such a powerful divine light. They broke open, and all of the holy sparks were scattered like stars, and those sparks fell everywhere. He explains that this is the reason that human beings were created, that this is our duty in our life, to gather the sparks, no matter where they are hidden. God created the world so that the descendants of Jacob of Israel could raise up the holy sparks. He says that this is also the reason that the Jewish people have been exiled throughout history. In exile, their job was to release the holy sparks from the servitude of captivity. In this way, the Jewish people will sift all the holy sparks from the four corners of the earth. And when enough holy sparks have been gathered, the broken vessels will be restored, and Tikkun Olam, the repair of the world, will finally be complete. Therefore, it should be the aim of everyone to raise these sparks from wherever they are imprisoned, and to elevate them to holiness by the power of their soul, by the light from within. Rabbi Luria's midrash is connected to the Kabbalistic teaching about the 10 Sefirot. According to this creation story, God is said to have brought the world into being in a series of 10 emanations, making it possible for God, a purely spiritual being, to manifest the world we inhabit. Rabbi Kalman Shapira said of this process of emanation, "In his wondrous hidden way, God contracted God's light again and again until physical bodies were created. And thus, the world is but an emanation of God's light. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel described this process as the inner life of God. It becomes our duty to bring this hidden light back into the universe. But how do we do this? How do we bring this hidden light back into our world? How do we collect the sparks of light that Rabbi Luria spoke about? Rabbi Luria explained that whenever the Torah was studied or one of the commandments of the law fulfilled, some of the holy sparks were raised up. This was a brilliant and motivational concept for its time. Up until the period of Rabbi Luria, if a student were to ask, why are we supposed to follow God's commandments? The answer was usually, well, we know this from Moses at Mount Sinai. But Rabbi Luria helped provide a context and a purpose for the mitzvot, for our commandments. Performing mitzvot, including the study of Torah, the healing of the world's problems, or performing good deeds, all made it possible to gather the sparks, contributing to the great mitzvah of tikkun olam. Every act of kindness, every good deed, every act of tzedakah, every mitzvot brings a little more light into this world, brings a little more of the hidden light of God. May we continue to be God's partners in repairing this world, into letting the light of God and the light of our souls shine in the universe. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may that be God's will. And it is my pleasure to invite Lisa Simonis to represent our board of directors of Temple Akiba and welcoming us this evening and sharing some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's nice to see you all here, and hi, everybody on Zoom. I have my cheat sheet here. I just want to say, again, welcome. I'm really happy to be here. I'm the financial secretary on the board. This is my first year on the board. I'm really enjoying it and getting to know the temple a lot better. I've been a member now for almost 12 years, I think, but my first time being on the board. It's been a great pleasure. So I wanted to share with you some announcements. I wanted to first let you know that Torah study will be resuming after the new year. There will be no more Torah study for the rest of this month. There will be lunch and learns on Mondays from 12 to 1 p.m. And we have coffee with the clergy on the first and third Wednesdays of the month from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I wanted to share with you, this was, Herman shared this with me, this sounds really interesting. The men's group is doing an event on December 28th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Oh, it says December. It's January 28th. Okay, so nix that, January. It's an event on politics in Israel. So it should be very interesting, and so hope you guys can all join. And I'm sure, Herman, if there's a correction, you'll let me know. I'm just reading what was on the page.
I'm sorry. You're right. December 28th is the...
December 28th is correct. So that's for the event on... Okay. No, hey, no worries. No worries. All right, so December 28th is back on. This is the men's group event on politics in Israel. So it's in January that's going to be the first men's group Shabbat, correct? Do you have the specific date for the men's group Shabbat? January 28th. Okay, that's going to be very exciting. So that's the very first men's group Shabbat. So I hope you guys will all come back at the end of January for that. And bring a man. That too. All right, well, thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Lisa. And just a reminder that for the next 2 weeks, our services will be at 5:30 because it's Christmas Eve. Our Shabbat happens to fall on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. And so we want to allow the congregation to celebrate Shabbat and then also celebrate whatever they might celebrate after. So 5:30 in person still, as well as online. We are going to begin our concluding prayers with the Elenu. We ask all who are able to rise, and we are on page 282. And I would love to invite Toby and Nate and Penny. If you guys could all come up and please help us to open the ark, that would be fantastic. Fine, Toby and Nate. Come on up.
Elenu leshabeach Adon hakol, lateketula leoser reshit, shelo asanu k'gei ha'arasot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adamah, shelo samchel kenu kahem, vekol Elenu kechol hamona, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim bifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. And we're on page 291 in preparation for our Kadisha Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish, or reading at the bottom of the page. 291. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We remember with love those who are on Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. We had a pillar of our community pass away, one of the multi-generations of our community, Mickey Bubis, passed away a few days ago. And she's remembered by Saul and Pauline and Aileen and Darlene, the entire family. So we send the Bubis family all of our love this evening. We also remember Bob Knopf's Aunt Pearl Fuchs Schechter, who is 102.5, who just passed away yesterday in North Carolina. Is there anyone else that is in Shloshim in the first 30 days of mourning? If anyone is in Shloshim on Zoom, please feel free to put the names of your loved ones in our chat box. And we add to their names those who are located in the Sue and Jerry Erfrig Memorial Room. And these yard sites include Esther Axelrod, Trudy Chernus, Harold Clements, Morris Yakowitz, James Callis, Harry Kasdan, Bessie Melamed, Richard Newmark, Faye Resnick, Ann Siegel, Louis Zackheim. And we add to their names Eliza Andusis, Esther Balter, Reuben Bergman, Irene Crane, Leonard Devine, Stuart Dicker, Mara Forsyth Crane, Daniel Friedman, Brian Goldman, Francis Goldstein, Greta Himmel, Dorothy Hinden, Barry Josephson. Can't believe it's been a year. Sending love to all of you. Theodore Kaplan, Joseph Kent, Lola Clapper, Saul Lazaroff, Nate Lobozer, Martin Lubavitsky, Lillian Maltzman, Elaine Matthew, Devere McGuffin, Bernard Mincer, Joe Perkin, Seal Poland, Frederick Reichlin, Benjamin Reisel, David Rosenfield, Ann Salzman, Florence Shapiro, Rose Starr, Charlotte Stievelman, Gisela Wall, Gerald Weinstein, Marcia Weinstein, and Naomi Mazinkow. And we ask for those that are on Zoom to please put the names of your loved ones who are you are remembering a yahrzeit for in the chat box as well. And we rise as a congregation to say the Mourner's Kaddish, the Kaddish Yatom together on page 294. Yit Gadal ve'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv ve'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya Yitbarach ve'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudasha brichu Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechamata Damiram be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min Shemaya V'chayim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. And together we say, Amen. Put your books down, everyone. Our last song, and you can feel free to have a seat. Our closing song is Or Zerua. This is a song that I had mentioned in the sermon this evening. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright in heart. I need your help. There's a little bit of hand clapping in here, so that's why I asked for you to put your books down. If you know this, please join me. Or Zerua. Latzadik, l'trelev simcha. Let's try that again. Or Zerua, latzadik, l'yishrelev simcha. Or Zerua, latzadik, l'yishrelev simcha. L'yishrelev simcha. Or Zerua, latzadik, l'yishrelev simcha. L'yishrelev simcha. Ya la 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 la. O Zerua, latzadik, l'yishrelev simcha. O Zerua, latzadik, l'yishrelev simcha. Let's see if we have a challah. Oh, wow. No twisty thing today. That makes it so much easier. So following the service, we will go out into the foyer, and the sisterhood has prepared an oneg to go for us. So a big thank you to the sisterhood for taking the time to prepare our challahs to go. But before we enjoy that, let's join in our blessing over the challah and our hamotzi. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices join in happy chorus as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Please remember to bring your prayer book